Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability questions concerning this watch. Many folks ask me, within the rarefied realm of minute repeaters, what are the best? And I almost always mention the welded gong JLC minute repeaters and a few pieces made in titanium from scattered brands such as Girard Perregaux on occasion. Every once in a while you'll find some pieces constructed by Christophe Claret for clients that are cased up in titanium or steel. And then this model right here, which was a collaboration between Pascal Favre of MHC and Moser Cie. And this watch is the Endeavour Concept Minute Repeater Tourbillon, a 2022 launch. In titanium, 20 pieces made with a hammered gold dial featuring grand faux enamel and a gradient fade. This is not only a great sounding minute repeater, it is an incredibly dense feat of high horology and a beautiful watch in every regard, including the way it wears. 40 millimeters in diameter and easy on the wrist. It's only 13.6 millimeters thick, and from lug tip to lug tip, 47.5 with a 20 millimeter spacing in between the lugs. You can see on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, it is considerably smaller than the original 43 millimeter Endeavour minute repeater, which came out in 2019. This is a smaller watch. Now, they made 20 of these in titanium in 2022. They also made 20 in rose gold, but this is both the more versatile and the more easily wearable of the two. And on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters, you can see how much clearance I've got down the barrel, as I like to say, on either side of the lug. So this watch will wear well and comfortably on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters. Part of that is because the case back is curved, including the sapphire, so it's a very sound ergonomic equation. The watch features a large rectangular scale, alligator leather strap. You can see a matte finish, large scales in black. We have a cut edge that's been lacquered for refinement, a monotone stitch on the bottom, a lovely suede material, probably Alcantara, a velvety feel against the wrist. You can see the lugs are drilled far inboard to create the best possible fit on a small wrist, so the pivot points are further in than the end of the lugs. But in order to prevent any kind of impediment to the motion of the strap, a curved spring bar is used. The attention to detail is excellent here. We have a feature rarely seen on Moser watches, which is a full-to-point clasp. Now, in general, Moser watches, even high complications, don't include full clasps. This one features twin triggers, titanium construction. You can see a little Brogioli B, so it's probably made by Brogioli, which is a common supplier of clasps and bracelets to Moser and others in the business. Taking a quick look at the rest of the watch, you can see that the case is titanium, polished, grade 5. And the thing about grade 5 is it has the qualities of grade 2 in being hypoallergenic and lighter than steel, but it is also harder than either standard watchmaking steels or grade 2. And what's really nice about that is it doesn't scratch or mar. And I found that polished titanium is the most resilient of all. For whatever reason, it just does not accumulate visible marks. It's almost like having a white car hides dirt. Having a polished grade 5 titanium case is probably the ticket, short of ceramic or a sapphire case, to showing no marks. Now, the watch is beautifully made, and you can see that the fluid concave of the bezel actually splays out broader at 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, and you can see how it is concave all the way around to visually thin the watch. Moser cases are machined and then hand finished, which is how you get these lovely scalloped and mirror finished hollows. You can see that the mid case is satin finished. The crown is conical with knurling and Moser branding. And then we have a repeater slide that slides on a Teflon surface, so it is super slick. And to make it as compact as possible, the slide is built into the base plate of the movement. Now, on the dial side, this is, of course, an Endeavour Concept. Concept means no signatures, no indices, no notation of where it's made, and no branding. At Moser, purity means less encumbrance and detail. Concept means none. The hands are leaf style, and you can see they're faceted down the center for better contrast so you can read the watch. Then we've got rings that wrap all the way around the dial and conduct the sound beautifully. We have a generously cambered crystal, and we have a flying tourbillon. You can see no upper bridge to block your view. That's what a flying tourbillon does. It is an unobstructed view. It is a 1-minute tourbillon, so it effectively acts as the seconds hand of the watch. You can see it's free sprung for durability against shock and also precision of adjustment, since the adjustments are made by moving variable inertia screws on the balance rim itself. And this is beating away at 21,600 vibrations per hour. Don't know if you can hear it. but like most tourbillon regulators, it is a very loud and vocal mechanism, which I love. Now the strikers, as well as the bridge and the pivot bridges, are finished to a level that you don't commonly see on Moser watches. Moser watches tend to be thoughtfully designed, colorful, fun, innovative, and backed by a company that generally has its business sorted from a mechanical standpoint. At least since the Melons took over in 2012, Mosers tend to be quite reliable. There's a fun CEO who's very accessible. All of these things are to Moser's credit, and they are manufactured building their own hairsprings, balances, escapements, but they're generally not known for super haute de gamme finish. This watch is an exception. You can see that starts on the bridge and the strikers. Satination, beveling, mirror polished screws. Look at the strikers themselves. Mirror finished on their tops, beveled out to sharp points on their edges. And then you turn over the watch and you realize that there's even more of it. We have those signature double-crested Côte de Genève stripes that Moser uses, but then we have a level of finish that you don't see on most Moser movements. This is the HMC 904. Look at these interior angles. Look at these angles over the barrel arbor right here. Those are incredibly deep and sharp. And you can see that a particularly thick set of bridges were used to allow those bevels to be drawn back far and tall. These interior angles are among the finest I've seen. Not all interior angles are created equal. Some look fairly perfunctory, whereas these look razor sharp, deep, and broad. Now you can also see the steel bridge at the center bearing the drivetrain, which sort of cascades down to the tourbillon. But this steel bridge is entirely mirrored, beveled on its sides, and then where it joins the base plate, you can see that those parts of the bridge are fully rounded and mirrored, something you'd expect on Grubel 4C, but definitely not Moser. You can also see a degree of attention to detail in the profiling of the bridge atop the strike governor of the minute repeater, for example. And then all screw heads mirror finished. We have a golden chaton cup held by screws, reminding us that back in the 19th century, this is how jewels would have been precision pressed into Moser pocket watches back then. First, jewels pressed into a precision golden cup, and then the cup mounted in the bridger plate using screws. You can also see that locating pegs underneath these two screws here, the locating pegs that help locate this upper structure on a lower structure, they've been mirror finished on their tops. And where bevels converge, they are razor sharp, and you can see that. That's difficult to achieve too. It's not just about the interior angles. This is a large movement that perfectly fills this case, and you can see that it was properly set up in order to fit hand in glove movement into case. And incredibly, it is a 30-meter water-resistant watch, something minute repeaters almost never are. But then you come back to the dial side and you're like, well, what's going on with this dial? Well, it is a piece of gold that has a hammered texture, and then 4 different pigments and up to 20 firings at 800 degrees Celsius are used to create the Grand Faux glassy enamel over the top. It's a vitreous paint. It is glass, melted as smooth as glass. And then with the 4 pigments creating that gradient fade, it's called Aqua Blue, from light at the center to very dark at the edge. And you can see even the gongs themselves have been mirror finished. The movement, manual wind with a 90-hour power reserve, has exceptional autonomy, given that the tourbillon is a very power-intensive complication. The watch is spectacular, and I have to say, all things considered, everything from the clasp, which is robust and protects you from dropping it, to the strap, which is built with real attention to detail and sensual qualities, to the movement, that association with MHC and then later Timeless on Moser minute repeater construction, paying off with a degree of finish you do not see even on their other flagship pieces. And then finally, the confluence of enamel, hammered gold, a great minute repeater, and a flying tourbillon. This watch is over the top, and I know you probably want to hear that minute repeater again, so I'm going to do my best to indulge you. If you want to fire up a minute repeater and impress your friends, provided you don't mind desynchronizing from the time, well, what you do is you try to set it as close as you can at 12:59, and that should give you 12 hours, 3/4, and 14 minutes. I might have missed it, but I don't want to roll over to 1 o'clock. One of the loudest and best sounding minute repeaters you can buy at any price from anyone. right up there with Patek Philippe, and I would say Jaeger-LeCoultre. I will also say that this watch, with its 30-meter water resistance, puts to the lie the claim that you can't have a properly water-resistant minute repeater. Moser believes you can have both. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.